Some of y'all may have already read the brief press release that we give. I'm going to go through it again for you just so you have it on camera. So on Tuesday, April 8th, at approximately 1:13 a.m., Central Communications received a call from Sentara Albemarle Medical Center that a male subject had entered the emergency room armed with a handgun. Central Communications dispatched law enforcement to the scene at 1:14 a.m. Law enforcement from the Pasquotank County Sheriff's Office, officers from the Elizabeth City Police Department arrived on scene at 1:18 a.m. That's approximately 3 minutes and 26 seconds response time, which I'm very proud of from all agencies. They made their way into the ER waiting room at that time once they arrived on scene, of course. Law enforcement found a male subject in the ER triage room armed with a handgun. The suspect pointed the handgun at law enforcement. The suspect was struck with gunfire from law enforcement and was able to receive immediate medical care by ER staff. The suspect was pronounced deceased at the scene by medical personnel. Initial information from the scene indicates that the suspect entered the ER and pointed the handgun at multiple ER personnel. A security guard with Sentara attempted to subdue the suspect before law enforcement arrived. The security guard received injuries when assaulted by the suspect. Injuries to the security guard occurred when the suspect hit the security guard with his handgun, striking him in the head. The security guard also received treatment at the ER. 3 of your Pasquotank County Sheriff's deputies are the ones that fired at the suspect. No members of law enforcement received injuries. These 3 deputies are currently on administrative leave with pay pending the investigation from the SBI. The North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, like I said, they are conducting the investigation of this incident. Just to reiterate what Mr. Dale said, this is an ongoing investigation. As you all know, any type of questions or anything that's related to the investigation or anything that comes out is going to be very little at this point until we get further down the road. Now, when we get further down the road, then we can cross that bridge when it gets here. So that's all I have right now. I think we're going to let everybody go first and then possibly some light questions. Thank you so much. Chief Avens.
Thank you, Sheriff. James Avens, Interim Chief of Police for Elizabeth City Police Department. I just want to ask that you keep everyone involved in your thoughts and prayers, because this is truly an unfortunate incident that took place today. From the family of the suspect, to the hospital staff, to all the officers that responded. We will continue to work together in efforts to provide safety for our community. Thank you.
Good morning. This is not how I usually start my days, and I'm thankful for that. But I'm also very thankful. I'm Teresa Watson. I'm the president of Sentara Albemarle Medical Center. And I'm very thankful for the sheriff, deputies, and the Elizabeth City Police Department in their courageous efforts to keep our community safe. I'll tell you, when I got the call about 1:18 this morning and came into the hospital, I was met with an overwhelming sense of calmness in a very difficult situation from our emergency department staff. I also want to share with you that we are a safe place to give and receive care, and I'd like to say that this incident is unusual in our community and in our nation, but it's not. This is just one of many unfortunate shootings that take place. And as a hospital, we really struggle to provide a welcoming, calm environment, but at the same time, we have implemented processes like the visitor badging system to keep our patients and visitors safe when they're on campus. When an unfortunate circumstance happens such as this, it's important that you have that relationship with the community partners, as we do with the sheriff and the police department, to respond very quickly in a united front. And I think that's what we saw here today. I have seen the footage. It raises the hair on my arms to see how someone can quickly enter into your facility. And if it wasn't for the actions of our heroic security officer leading the potential gunman, he did not come in with a gun in his hand. He produced that afterwards, leading them away from the clinical staff and other visitors. It could have been a much worse outcome. The response time was nothing short of heroic. It could have looked very differently. It's very unfortunate that it ended up the way that it did, but I am grateful and thankful that we have the police and sheriff presence here to make sure that didn't turn out to be worse than it actually did. So we are very appreciative of media being here to be able to share this. Any questions that I can take or the team can take?
Ms. Watson, since you're up there, was your security guard armed? And I know that it's a policy in North Carolina that in emergency rooms you should have an armed security person there for these exact reasons. Can you tell me about that?
Great question. So you've heard of unfunded mandates? Well, that's one that was unfunded. So just because there's legislation that's passed to say you have to have those resources, then you've got to work with the community. And we're currently and have been in discussions since fall of last year to be able to provide that level of security. Sentara is very committed to SAFE, so that visitor badging system is one effort. We have already ordered and will be delivered our weapons detection system that will be in place at the new hospital. Quite honestly, it probably will be escalated to be here. You know, we're moving into a new location in August. So we continue that discussion with law enforcement in this community to be able to provide the armed services. We've added additional security officers. So your question was he armed? No. Will there be armed officers on the campus in the future? Yes.
Why was he not armed in this case? Keeping in mind the unfunded mandate, I appreciate that,
Yeah,
but
well,
he could have been armed.
No, right. Actually, you've got to go through training and actually a program to be able to have armed officers on your campus. So we can't just decide who's going to carry a firearm or not. This would also include taser weapons that will be coming in the future as well.
And as a follow-up to that, what are you doing in the meantime to arm someone so this does, to have protection inside the emergency room for your medical customers?
That's right. Well, I'll tell you that it's not as quick as a simple fix. This happened at 1:18 this morning. We have already been in communication. The weapons detection system will identify anyone coming into the emergency department with a weapon, and that will be escalated to have that, we're hopeful, within 2 weeks on campus here. We will continue to work with law enforcement to develop a program, escalated program. In fact, we just met with the police chief yesterday, so this was very timely about how we can continue to have the level of support from an armed officer.
What can we be told about the suspect? Who did this?
I am not at liberty to share that. I'm going to ask law enforcement to talk about the suspect if you're comfortable.
Before you do, just a quick question.
Sure.
How is your staff doing with all of this? I know that nobody got hurt, thank God for that, but I mean, is there going to be any resources provided to them? I mean, I bet today was a trying day.
Absolutely. We have already been in contact with our emergency resources. They will be on site for the team members, especially in the emergency department. We have a charge nurse in the ED that was in the room with the suspect trying to de-escalate them when law enforcement arrived. She is fortunately of sound body, but that's going to take a toll. If you've ever worked with emergency personnel, you know that that's how they're geared to treat in the midst of chaos and move to the next person, because everybody has an emergency, right? I think within 48 to 72 hours, when they start to realize the impact, those resources are going to be made available to continue to support them throughout this event. Our security officer is undergoing surgery as we speak. I was able to make contact with him. His family is in New York, a former Navy veteran and a police officer in New York City. And he comes to Elizabeth City and experiences this, but his wife was not able to be here, obviously, since this just transpired. So the chief nurse, the medical officer, chief medical officer, myself, was able to see him going into surgery to let him know he was a true hero in this story. It could have been very different, but there will be emotional and physical support for our team members.
Now, I know that you have not named this person so far. Are you planning on releasing the security officer's name and celebrating this hero? And also, how long has he been with your nation?
A very short period of time, so about a month. So that's what makes this story even more incredible. Investigation has been completed. We will release him, and he will be hopefully a follow-up story to what went well throughout this very unfortunate circumstance.
Can you talk about the emergency room? Was it closed during this time? And if so, is it still closed right now? Where should people go if they have an emergency? Can you talk about that?
So the beauty of this is you can't shut down a hospital when you have an emergency department, right? So by the quick actions of our team and of our charge nurse who was on site, we were able to, this all happened and transpired, as you heard the sheriff say, in a very short period of time. So they were able to isolate the individual into one section of the emergency department. Fortunately, of the time of night it was, there wasn't any visitors in the waiting area or very many patients in the back. Because we were able to segregate the suspect, we were able to, law enforcement came in and they were able to address the concern very timely. So ED did not shut down. We did not go on diversion. Simply what we did, because it is an active crime scene that the SBI could potentially speak to, that area got roped off and we rerouted the visitors or patients to the front entrance of the hospital, where we had security personnel to make sure that they were able to get into the emergency department without being hindered.
Ms. Watson, can you, for us, and obviously we'll make the request, I know I speak for everyone here, we'd like to see the surveillance video, but I have a feeling we aren't going to see that today. I hope we would. Can you please, and we're going to depend on you, to tell us in detail what you saw in that surveillance video from what you saw. Can you please tell us that?
I'm hesitant to do that because it is an active investigation, so I'm sorry I can't give you more detail. This will be a follow-up story for you, I'm certain of that, but we want to respect the privacy of the investigation. So, Sheriff?
Teresa, before you go,
yes.
can I ask you just a question about the North Carolina Violence Prevention Act? You said unfunded mandate. Can you kind of explain what that means?
Sorry, that's administrator speak. For what it says is it's a great idea, but they don't always give you the resources to implement that. And in a small area, and I know you covered the Outer Banks, so you know what it's like in the smaller communities, resources that the sheriff and the police chief have sometimes can be limited. So when you're asking for a finite population to say, we need more, it takes a little time to grow those certified police officers. So we have to start from the ground, and in the meantime, what do you do? Well, I can't take them off the street to have them come stay in the emergency department, and vice versa. So that's why it's important to have a community partnership such as we've demonstrated here.
Teresa, and can you tell us a little bit about the area that the suspect was entered and how is that normally staffed? If you can kind of describe that area.
And
Well,
can you do that in front of the microphone?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
I could not see the gentleman, so I had to make eye contact. So the area that the suspect had entered was in through the emergency room doors, the front entrance of the hospital in the waiting area. He quickly gained access to interior hallways because, as you would expect at night, there's not as many people, so he was able to move through, where he quickly got apprehended by our own security officer. And then he was really limited to just that lobby area right off of the main waiting area, did not get into the back of the ED. So he was really contained. And once you will be able to see footage, you'll understand better that it was right adjacent to the main lobby.
And Teresa, I know you had a chance to see the video. You described it, making the hairs on your arms stand up. Can you just talk to or speak to just what personnel were up against, what patients possibly at that time were up against, what you saw from that footage? I know you can't get too deep, but anything that can help.
So I'm going to ask Nicole Dickinson to come forward. She is our emergency management and emergency director. She was first on the ground to speak with our team. By the time I got here, she was already in place. Nicole.
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the question?
She had described seeing the surveillance video and it making her, the hair on her arms stand up. I just want you to kind of relay. We haven't seen that video. Just what personnel were up against when all of this was going on.
So what personnel we're up against from a nursing perspective is what we in the emergency department are here to do every day. We're here to provide care to our patients. So this was a patient in need, and our nurse was relying on her training and her expertise in emergency services to interact with the patient in the way that maintained her safety and the safety of those in the department.
So I'll go with
Why was the suspect here to begin with? Was he here for medical treatment? That's HIPAA protected.
That's why I got, the media police in the room.
Hospital staff, had anybody interacted with him previously?
Due to patient privacy, I'm going to decline to answer that at this time.
What went right during this? What was the good thing, and what's something that we learned that we need to work on?
Okay, so I'm going to pause that question to go and answer hers. I'm going to come back to yours. Why I said that made the hair on my arm stand up, because if you find yourself faced with a gun to your head, which we have seen that with several of our teammates, you've got to take care of your patients. And what you will find with our charge nurse is, even though this person had her held in a room with a gun on her, the minute he was shot, she was delivering aid to that individual. And that's what I say when you hear that healthcare professionals come to work to give the very best to save lives. It is hard to believe that they're on the other end of a gun and having to experience that level of violence while they're trying to care for their patients. And that's what, as a hospital president, keeps me up at night, is how much safety can you not have? Well, you could have an armed guards outside and someone can still get through. So what we've learned from this, what went well, is we drill and we train for this active shooter. And you think, oh, that'll never happen to us. But here we are in a small rural North Carolina hospital where an active shooting took place. So I think we let our guards down because we're Southern and we're incredibly kind folks. And this is a hospital, right, where you come for respite, for care, for reassurance. And we're yet met with the violence that takes place by having a gun pulled on you and being held hostage, if you will. So what went right is our security officer led the suspect away from the physicians, the staff, and the few patients that we had. That went well. What went well is that we remained calm, and because of that, we were able to decrease the number of fatalities or injuries that could have happened. What went really well was that our law enforcement arrived within minutes of receiving the call and apprehended the suspect, not allowing further damage. So that's what went well. There's always things, and we already have it scheduled to critique, what else can you do? Because it's never enough when you're talking about the safety of your community and your team. So we will, once the investigation, law enforcement, we're going to be looking at The new hospital will have the advanced weapons detection system. We have eliminated as many entrances because you either go into the emergency or the front door. You don't have other entrances you can go through. But it's always a Monday morning quarterback situation, right, where you think, what else could we have done? And I can tell you by the resources that have been extended to us since 2 o'clock this morning from our system, from Sentara, there is going to be increased emphasis on making sure we keep our entire organization safe.
Last, I know we've been hammering you, but this one's an
That's
easy
fine.
one.
Yep.
I hope. This nurse, how old was he or she, and how long have they been with you in that, and are they okay?
So what I can share is the nurse is okay. She was offered the opportunity to either continue her shift or go home, and she is of the caliber that she chose to stay. I'm going to decline any other personal identifiers at this time, but I am excited and very proud that she is part of our team.
She was the only one that was held, let's say for the clarification, she was actually held hostage at gunpoint. How many? Just one? Just her? Was she the only one, or were there others?
I think that there were others that came into contact with the suspect, but she was in the closest quarters in an exam room trying to de-escalate.
Were any of these people patients?
No.
Anything else that you'd like to say about this nurse?
Not at this time.
But you'll be getting a follow-up
Yeah.
story on her.
That'll be a follow-up story.
Kind words of just that she did her job today.
Absolutely. I think our entire team, not only nursing, but police, security, EVS, our incident command structure, there's not a single member within the community or within this team. We are here to do what we need to do to ensure that everyone is safe.
Can you
Virginia
state
Beach
your first
General.
and last name?
Right, at Virginia Beach General, I've been there a couple times in the last couple months. You have to walk metal detectors to get in. Do they not do that here?
That's what's on its delivery for us, yes. That's what's coming. It was rolled out. There is a plan for all of the hospitals to have that same system that you're familiar with. It will be here before we move into the new hospital.
I'm the nurse here. Can you state your first and last name?
Sure. My name is Nicole Dickinson, Dickinson, and I'm the Director of Emergency Services here at Sentara Albemarle.
Thank you. Sorry, and just one last question for you, Teresa. You said that your staff had been through an active shooter training recently. When was that?
It's tabletops that is part of an annual training for us. The system has developed some active shooter scenarios for you. We do tabletop drills with the county in case that, because that becomes really, if there's going to be an incident, it usually is active drills. So it's not just once, it's an ongoing initiative to make sure our team's educated. Right down to educating the reception desk on what to look for when patients come in or visitors come into the hospital. We do take, our badging system takes their driver's license and as a form of identification, but that doesn't always prevent people who are seeking medical care to have to go through all of those processes. The metal detection system will be key to keeping those weapons out of the hospital. That the media can do for us is some folks feel it's an invasion of their privacy when we ask for identification and have you go through the metal detector. I know that's hard to believe, but if you have nothing to hide, then it shouldn't bother you. People get very frustrated and feels like it's infringing upon their freedoms. But this is the incidents where we must keep our community and our employees safe. So that's why we have to take these extremes. I would love not to have a weapons detection system when you're in a place that you're offering care, but that's just not the world that we live in. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question
Chief.
for
Sheriff, was
Yes.
this a case of suicide by cop?
I can't answer that. It's completely under investigation. I don't have that information right now.
When will you be releasing the name of the suspect?
I know it's going to be public knowledge, so all that stuff will be compiled and be very soon.
What do we know about the shooter?
Can't answer that right now.
Is he
Sorry.
known to you by any chance?
Not very familiar with him, no, sir.
Did you know his name? So you've had no previous contact?
That's correct, yeah. Not very familiar, that's
This person
correct.
is not a juvenile, this is an adult, correct?
Adult, yes.
Chair, can you say mental health had a role in all of this?
I can't really say because it's until the investigation unfolds. And just to be honest, there's a lot that I can't say because, you know, y'all know how it is. You know, we got to get that investigation done and complete before we can, you know, come back out.
Were there any relations used to try to stop it? I mean, I know it was very high intent, but any of those tactics used at all before, you know, shut down?
This was that'll also come out in an investigation, how it all played out, yes.
I'm sure people are watching this and be worried about their safety when they're coming to the hospital to get help. What's your message to the community about what you guys did today to make sure it's a safe environment?
I think they can count on myself and the chief to protect them.
Is he a Elizabeth City resident, can you say?
I'm sorry?
The individual, is he a Elizabeth City resident?
I'm not even 100% sure at this point.
Do you know if he said anything to anyone?
I do not.
Can you explain what happened when your officers went in and confronted him? Kind of just set up what you can about how quickly did this unfold from beginning to end?
It, you know, 15, 20 seconds, but other than that, it's all under investigation, and yeah, that'll all be divulged.
So 15 to
later
20
on.
seconds from the time your guys got in there, he holds up his gun, he's shot 15 to 20
Approximately.
seconds. Okay.
And just to be clear, he didn't shoot anything out of his gun, right? Did the suspect shoot at all or not?
I have no clue on that, and I can't speak on it anyway.
Have you been able to talk to your officers, how are they doing?
I have talked to the officers, and they're doing okay.
So we're saying we don't know, you're not saying whether he fired his weapon?
Yeah, I can't, due to the investigation, we got to keep the integrity of the investigation solid.
But none of your officers were hurt or anything?
No, sir.
Deputies were hurt?
No, sir.
Can you say how many times he was shot?
No.
Can you speak to transparency moving forward? I think the community will be concerned with the nature of this shooting, just, you know, with body camera footage, all of that. How do you guys plan to ensure transparency moving
We're
forward?
100% on North Carolina law as it relates to transparency with body camera footage, and I'm sure that the systems will follow their protocol as to the surveillance of video footage, which I have no control over. So North Carolina law is the biggest thing. That's what we're going to go by. Somebody wrote the book for me. All I got to do is follow it.
Will your staff be offering increased security here at the hospital while the investigation continues?
Whatever the hospital needs, I'm here. I'm here for them, yes.
That's an important point because they can't just throw someone out there with a gun. So at least for now, you all will provide the services if listed to have armed officers, deputies here in the emergency room, which is the unfunded mandate required by North Carolina state law.
So I can't really speak on to what the hospital is going to do on that, but we'll see what happens in the future.
What do you think about the unfunded mandate?
I don't. Sorry, I don't. They give me a job. I got a book that tells me what to do. That's what I do. Sorry about that, but that's.
Can you talk about your role from the beginning and coming upon state? Talk to me about what you can talk about.
Well, my role as a sheriff is, getting the phone call and arriving on scene, checking on people, what you would expect out of a leader of an agency, and that's where. And I let my people work.
And what do you think of the response of your people today?
I'm excited. I'm proud of the response from the Sheriff's Office and the Elizabeth City Police Department. I'm sure the Chief is as well. It's unfortunate, the loss of life, like I explained earlier. But yeah, I'm happy.
How is it responding to a hospital? Because for many of the people in this, you have a relationship with people in the hospital. You know these people. What was it like knowing you were coming here for a scene?
It's business. There's no such thing as a routine call. We always say that, so it's not routine. You take every call as you get it individually.
How soon can we expect the 3 deputies' names to be released?
It won't be long. We will release it just as soon as, I'm thinking once the investigation gets a little more tied up, then we'll have that information, because I do realize that that's why I went ahead and put the status of the 3 deputies out, because that is public knowledge. And the names will, we want the investigation to keep that integrity for a little bit longer, a couple more days, maybe a third day, and then we will put out another press release with the names and such as that.
Can you say if these individuals have been with your department for long?
Yes, I can't think of all the years for each one of them, but each one of them's been with been with my office at one time or another for years.
Have you been able to find out anything about the shooter, previous arrest record or anything like that?
No, no, sir.
Have you seen the video yourself? Can you talk about anything that maybe stood out to you from the video that you saw today, or about your officer's response or otherwise?
I hate to give you a little tidbit and then string you along, but I can't talk about it due to the investigation, but yes, I have seen video footage that I can't discuss,
But it all lasted beginning and end 15 to 20 seconds.
approximately. Yep.
Chief,
Thank y'all
would you
so
like to
much.
say-
Appreciate you.